Hello, everyone. This is Shikha Tiwari, and welcome to another episode at Your Reinvent. Have you ever found yourself saying that my kids don't listen to me? Often, maybe every day, or maybe every hour, you know? But guess what? Here's some good news and bad news. Good news is you're not alone. We've all done that. We've all been through that. We've all, lived that life of why is my kid not listening to me? But, I'm going to maybe begin with a question. When we say that kids do not listen, we are often in our head, we've given up on all the strategies, all the requests, all the voice modulations, uh, everything. We've tried everything and we've given up in our head and maybe arrived at this label that there is something wrong with the child, that the child does not listen. But are we trying to really say that? Are we trying to be judgmental towards our children? Maybe not. So how about we change the question? How about we ask that how do I communicate so that our children listen? Maybe there is a piece of that puzzle that we do not know. Well, I know most of you would say nice question, but then what's the answer? The answer to that is that I have with me Oliver Levy. He's a parenting coach, and in his own words, he is a retired yeller. And I'm not going to say anything more than that, because we've all been there. We, in fact, some of us are still there, including me. There are times when I yell because you run out of ideas. He's currently based out of Canada, and he's the CEO of Mindful Parenting Toolkit. Oliver, first of all, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Uh,
So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, I actually want you to, help us understand first of all your journey. I know you wrote to me, but I don't want to steal the limelight. I want to hear it right from you. How did you get to call yourself a retired yeller? And then how did you, get to do this mindful parenting toolkit or the academy, like your, the
Wow.
background says. So
Thank you.
take us
Thank
through
you.
that, take us through that.
Yes, for sure. I'm not sure if you have enough time here for go through my journey, but I'm gonna give you the short version of
Mm-hmm.
my journey. So born and raised in Jamaica and came to Canada here for since I was 16, going on 17 years old. And sometimes when you're younger and you're thinking of what your kids would look like or what would you want to do with your kids and all that stuff. So fast forward now, when my first child was born, I was 19 years old, very young, not understand anything. And because I was born and raised on a farm where there was always yelling and shouting and physical abuse and mental abuse, and not that I'm taking away anything from my parents because they did everything
I
that
know
they
what you
had to
mean.
do
Yeah.
with all the tools that they had, but that's the reality. So now when my son was 3, 4, 5, 6, I was very abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally abusive to him. And in no time, I lost that relationship. And it was devastating for me. But at the time, I thought, oh, well, it's not my loss, it's their loss. Now, fast forward to my wife right now. We've been married now for 15 years. We just celebrate our 15th anniversary. When my second son, because my first son is now 29, when my second son is now 14, when he was about 3, almost 4 years old, um, I lost my cool on him, and yeah, it was very physical. And my wife gave me ultimatum, and then I start getting flashback to like, wow, I'm about to lose this second relationship. I can't allow this to, because knowing the kind of person I am, I didn't want. First of all, that first relationship was devastating, and I always wanted to be a family where no separation. That's always what I wanted. So I say, you
Yeah.
know what, something got to give. What's the common denominator here? That was me. So I had to swallow a lot of pride, and self evaluation was first step for me. and I gone through a lot of. I spent a lot of money, even money that I couldn't tell my wife I was spending about books, CDs. I paid other people for their expertise and mentorship and all that stuff. And what I've learned was mind-boggling. It changed my entire family. All
Mm-hmm.
the strategies and tips and techniques and tools that I've learned when it comes to relationships and especially parenting and raising kids and understanding kids, it was just amazing. And I started to doubt it after a while. I'm like, is this really gonna work? I said, okay, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the breakthrough, one really breakthrough happened where when my kids were small, at the time, I think my son, he was 6 now, and my daughter was 3, so they're going to kindergarten, grade school, all that stuff. And we prepare stuff in the morning. Like we have to wake up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'll be downstairs getting their breakfast and their lunch ready, and pack their bags and stuff like that. And my wife will be upstairs dealing with them, waking them up on time and brushing teeth and all that stuff. But guess what? There was chaos upstairs. Who's not waking up? Who doesn't want to go to school? Who wants to go to the bathroom first? Who's in the shower first? And all that
Yeah.
chaos, and it was just interrupting our morning. So I
Right.
asked my wife, "Can you switch? She'll be
Mm-hmm.
downstairs, and I'll be
Mm-hmm.
upstairs, and let me utilize some of these tools. Let me try out these tools to see if it's going to work."
Right.
And the first week, my wife and I were like, "Wow, this is really working." And
Mm.
I put these tools to work, and I'm like, yes. Guess what was happening downstairs? Chaos downstairs.
Okay.
Who's whose chair is this? Whose bowl is this? Whose spoon is this? Who's got like all sorts of different fighting was going on downstairs, was interrupting. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? I need to get you on board. I need
Yeah.
to, teach you these tools. And it's
Yeah.
tough. It was very challenging
Certainly.
because, when you're in a household co-parenting, it's challenging when you have different views on one particular thing. In this case, it's parenting.
Right.
So I said, you know what? Let me just do the practical work. So I'll be downstairs, back and forth, upstairs, downstairs, upstairs,
Okay.
downstairs,
Yeah.
and to make sure the morning goes smoothly. Because if the
Mm-hmm.
morning not smooth,
Yeah.
guess
Yeah. Yeah.
what? The child's day, our day, is going to
Yeah.
be
It spills over,
a little bit,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
frustration.
Mhm.
frustration. So that was that, and that was the major breakthrough. And we
Yeah.
saw how the tools and strategies and techniques work. And I was
Mhm.
like, wow, we need to continue this.
Yeah.
And so that's where I started. And obviously, I worked a lot in the community. So, community service and stuff like that, different programs in the community centers. So, parents, I used to deal with parents a lot, and I'll give them
Right.
tips and tools and they'll come back to me and say, wow, this is
It
working.
works. Yeah.
Over a
Yeah.
couple of years or so, yeah,
Yeah.
over a couple of years or so, they'll come back to me and say, you know what? You need to start doing something different. A matter of fact, a few parents said to me, we don't mind paying you because we need to get some more tips and tools. And I'm like, I don't, I'll do it for free because
Yeah.
I'm not an
Keep on doing
expert.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
right. So I was just doing that for years. And my friends and family, I'll give them a few tools and show them a few things and help them even in their relationships as well. Because some of the things that I've learned, I was working out with my wife, and
Mm.
we start seeing success.
Right.
Um, um, Something click in me to say, you know what? This
Let's give it a
this
shot.
start becoming my passion. It start becoming my passion.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
learning,
Yeah.
right? I start going to these parenting seminars, and I give tips and strategies, and being on panels and stuff like that. I start getting into it. I'm like, okay, so
Mm.
now I get to the next level where turning into a business. And so I started hiring different mentors, business mentors, and to help
Mhm.
me, as being on a farm and being traumatized with different things and the way I was raised, being yelled at and stuff like that, it plays a part in your daily living, especially when you just
Right.
want to start a business,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And you and I
You
know
don't
very well.
think
So I got
big enough.
into
You don't kind of give
right,
yourself a chance. Actually.
right, right. And you and I know very well that personal development is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
So that set me on that path by personal development. And that's where I'm at today. where
Very good.
God gave this gift, and now serving hundreds and hundreds of parents.
Yeah.
And my mission is to enable and equip parents, 10 million parents,
Mhm.
with actionable steps so they too can create harmony in their family. And obviously, when I say 10 million parents, that's written down, and I can't do that by myself.
Right, right.
So this is the reason why, this is the reason why I'm grateful for this interview. I'm grateful for you. We connected.
Yeah,
So this way, whether yourself or your audience, can be impacted as well. And that's my mission.
sure. Yeah. Now, more courage to you, more power to you, Oliver, because see, a lot of us go through things or things have happened to us. But when things happen to us, most often we live the life of a victim. We never turn it around and say that, you know what, okay, this happened. It's part of who I am. But especially when somebody talks about abuse or anything for that matter, I always define it like this happened to me. This is not me. It's an external event
All right.
that happened to me. Of course, it affected me. I mean, I'm a human being. Even if it rains, it will affect me. But it's not the entire me. I am more than that. So the question is, will you be consumed by
Right.
it, or will you be more than it and do more? So more power to you, Oliver. There, kudos to you, because a lot of us don't find that courage. We don't use it to change our lives around, especially for the people around us. And in this case, your wife and your children. So I was actually going to ask
Yes,
you this
thank you.
question second, but I'm going to, in continuation, I'm going to ask you now. Uh, when parents yell, oftentimes it's not like they want to yell, or it's not like they enter the house and say that, what, today I'm going to yell at my child. They don't do that. Neither does the child think that, what, today I'm not going to listen to my mother. They don't come up with that agenda. It's a dynamic. Something shifts within the first few requests, and oftentimes, and this is my personal observation, that when we are stressed, when there is something else going on in our heads, a deadline, a delivery, an uncalled for request, which you're struggling with, and then you are like, it comes out and like, I have to handle these million things, and this child is not listening to me. So it's always a culmination of all of these factors. But the point is, this is life. There can never be a point where you will not be called upon by these 5 6 other things. Even if you're a homemaker, you will have laundry, you'll have some cooking happening, something in the oven, something to buy. All of that will happen. So how
Right.
so what is that first step that parents can take to you know break that cycle? And then we'll get to the actionable steps. So, like I said, we
Right.
are deciding that I'm going to yell at my child, and yet it happens. So
Right.
what are the
That
triggers,
is,
you
yeah.
know and how can I identify that I'm going to yell by the third sentence now? How do I stop? What should I do?
Well, it's a process, right? And before
Uh-huh.
we get to the practical steps,
Yeah.
always remember that we as parents, and you said it very best, your child doesn't say, you know what, I'm gonna make my mom or my dad upset today. They
Yeah.
don't really say it. As a
Hmm.
matter of fact,
Yeah.
they said the opposite,
Yeah.
right? So we as parents, we want instant gratification. That's number one. We expect them to learn right away. We expect them to be adults right away and understand, to buy in. They
Hmm.
ex- we expect them to buy into us, and we're
Yeah.
not buying to them, right? So we have to be able to buy into them. Buying to them meaning, what are their core needs?
Uh,
Attend to their core needs first, because here's the fact: every misbehavior, every anger, every excitement, every diagnosis is come from unmet
unmet need.
needs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
always. So obviously, to your question, we as parents, we don't know what those unmet needs are, not yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think to yourself now, especially now, parents are now, we have to think to ourselves now, what is causing mental health problems,
Mm.
including ourselves and our kids?
Right.
So have you ever noticed that when a baby's crying, toddler's crying, and you whisper into their ear, they stop crying? There's
Mm.
reasons for that.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's one. We have to understand as well that children respond better
When
when
the
you
volume
speak
is low.
respectfully.
Yeah. Yeah.
The interesting thing is, they respond immediately with fright when you yell.
Right.
So we like that as parents because we like the control factor. We like the instant gratification factor.
Yeah.
We like when a child, okay, I'm gonna do it now. We like that, not understanding that that's gonna cause a negative ripple effect later on in their lives. When I say
Yeah.
later on, it could be months or weeks, and some parents compare their kids. Well, my 10-year-old is fine. My 14-year-old has problem. There's two different kids.
Yeah. 14-year-old
Because you
will
yell,
have a
it's like,
problem.
okay,
If he
right,
doesn't have a problem, there is another problem, So that's how teens are.
right.
So
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. So these are the things parents need to start understanding. And the reality is, yelling is a tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're telling parents not to yell, that means you're taking away a tool from them. You need to replace it
Replace it with something.
something else because they're gonna be frustration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
parents don't want to yell. The parents don't wake up in the morning, I'm gonna yell 15 times today. No,
Correct. Yeah. We don't do that. Yeah.
they're just not mindful enough to understand the cause and effect of the yelling, how devastating it will be next week, next 2 3 years, whatever the case is. They're not mindful.
And also, it's because when they're making that request, it's like an item to be checked on the list of the zillion things that a parent has to do. So if the child brushes his or her teeth, in the first request, it's a tick. Whereas if you have to tell them 5 times to wear your socks because you're getting late for school, your tempers are rising because obviously you have 5 other different things to do. And that brings me to an interesting question that this is my understanding. A lot of this can be solved by putting an environment in place where you do not have to make a request. You know, for example,
Right.
triggers.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, and it has to be done every single day. You know, and then it becomes automatic. You don't have to say it,
Right.
and the less you
Right.
say it, the better it is both ways. You're not going to get to yelling. So tell us something about
Right.
the environment piece. That how do we set that up? How do we ensure that that's in place?
The environment is huge, and thank you for that. And I have a whole module
Yeah.
and teaching about this. And communication is important. So, communication is important. I
Mm-hmm.
call it the 5 C's.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
Communication. Right? Once you communicate with your child in a calm and respectful way, the next one you must connect.
Right.
Connect emotionally. Emotionally.
Yes.
That means, you know, I, it's a lot to go through right now, but there's a few steps how you can connect to a child emotionally, and
Yes.
that is part of their core need.
Mm-hmm.
So once you connect,
Mm.
then you can correct.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
You cannot correct a lot of times. So you see, there's
Yeah.
2 steps: communicate, connect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, most parents, go straight to
Mm.
correcting the
Correcting.
misbehavior.
Yes. Yes. Because
So
I
the
said so.
environment, the environment has to be in a respectful, peaceful. For example, I'm gonna give you like
Mm-hmm.
real example.
Sure. Yeah.
You your child is upstairs playing video game, for example, or whatever they're watching TV,
Mm-hmm.
and you start yelling. turn out the TV, come get your dinner. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. You
Yeah.
prepare dinner and you're
It's time for
yelling,
dinner. Yeah. Yeah.
yelling. Why yell?
Yeah.
It child respond more effectively, and you're protecting their subconsciousness with the
Mm.
yelling. Because then when they reach 14, they're gonna yell at you, "What's wrong with you?" And you're like, "Why are you
Why are
yelling?"
you talking to me like that? You can't talk. I'm
Right.
your mother. You can't talk
So
to me like that. Yeah, I know.
if you go upstairs, sit beside your child, tap the child on your shoulder. Obviously, you set up rules
Yeah,
and say, "Hey, when you finish, I give you a minute to
right.
finish up your video game or your stages. When you
Yeah,
finish, it's ready."
right. Yeah,
How respectful that is.
yeah,
Very respectful.
yes.
And obviously, if that doesn't happen, you still speak to them in a respectful manner.
Respectful.
Here's the reality. Here's the reality,
Mm-hmm.
Shakira.
Mm.
Um, when we speak to our child, especially when they misbehave, it must be in a respectful manner.
Right.
Guess what? The step that I didn't talk about is we have to have that emotional control
Yes.
as parents. We
That's
talk about
where
that
the key is.
just right? So can you imagine the child, say for example, I'm in this interview right now, and my daughter comes in here. She's 11, and she came in here and just whacked my laptop off the
Yeah.
the desk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. In your mind, this is where the magic is now. Listen to this. In your mind, you gotta think, what caused the child to do that?
Yeah.
Not you're gonna take it out on the child. In order to be to in order to have that process, because parents will be like, okay, that's easy to say. It's very easy for me to say because I've I've been there
Practice it. Yeah.
before where I lose it on my kids. However, I've gone through the stages where I start understanding that it's the lack of something that I miss that caused them to do that. So
Yeah.
let's focus on that thing as opposed to get so emotionally
Yeah.
involved in the situation.
Right.
So when we're emotionally and we act like this, we talk about the environment now, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we teaching them? When things doesn't go their way, in the
Mm.
class, in the playground, at work, how are they going to behave? They're going
Yeah.
to behave the exact same way. Remember my story? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want this to happen, but it happened. They're going to behave exact same way or you behave. So
Yeah.
with the environment, start with communicating, um, connecting,
Mm-hmm.
correcting, controlling your
Your
emotions,
emotions. Yeah. Yeah.
and character skills. And the thing about characteristic skills is that with my tools and my teaching and my techniques, because it's
Mm-hmm.
very specific and it's authentic,
Mm-hmm.
is that when you use these strategies and techniques, automatically character skills are being formed.
Mm.
So I don't have to talk to my kids about how to choose friends. I don't have to talk to my kids about integrity. I don't have to talk to them about having resilience,
Mm.
confidence, all that stuff, because it's already wrapped up into the actual process and the techniques and the strategies that I'm using with them. Do
Interesting.
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Very
the key
interesting.
here.
Yeah.
Yes, that's I call it the fifth C. I call it the magic C. That's where the magic happens when you
Yeah.
start building characteristic skills. In turn, that's the harmonic environment you start creating because I'm gonna give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I forget how long it was. Probably seven, a long time.
Mm.
My I lost it on my son
Mm.
and my daughter left the scene,
Yeah.
and I didn't know why.
Oh.
The
Yeah.
next day, she said she wanted to talk to me. She was
Mm.
about what, I don't know, 5, 6,
Mm.
whatever. And I said, "What's up?" She said, "I'm disappointing in you."
Wow.
Yeah, you said you're not
Good
yelling.
going, girl. I love you already.
You teaching parents not to yell, and you yell yesterday.
Mm.
this is the kind of, and I apologize.
Yes, of course. You
I
have to
also
say.
use another tool that I'm giving away right now. The tool where I said, I apologize. I used the I statement.
Mhm.
I didn't know you that hurt. And guess what? I need you to help me because I need to get better and not yelling.
Mm,
And she said, how can I do that? I said, whenever you see me start or you see me yell, come up with a word
mm,
and say it to me.
yeah.
Let's come up with a word right now.
Hmm.
You know what she come up with? I don't know what she came up with. She used potato. Potato.
How cute.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll go with
Yeah,
that.
whatever. Yeah, whatever works. Yeah,
Guess what? Guess what? She never used that word
yeah.
because
But
that was a
see, it's
big, big
also
problem.
taught her how to sort of resolve a conflict.
Right to my point
Yeah.
where
Beautiful.
I don't have to
Beautiful.
directly teach
Yeah.
them.
The teacher.
Right, because of how I approach situation, they learn from that. Remember, kids learn from observations, so
Right.
they learn. Yeah, they will learn from that. So she never used that word before because I never did.
Right.
She never.
I
Yeah, that
remember,
was a big wake up call for me.
yeah, long back, this was when I didn't have my daughter. Long, I think maybe 2009 or something. And there was a girl in our building, and she had recently, had a son, young 3 4 month old child. So one day, we met her. I met her on the elevator, and I generally just said, "Oh, what a cute baby! Congratulations!" That was the first time I was meeting her. And so I generally asked her, I was like, "How is it going? Are you sleeping enough? How are you feeling?" So because that's our first thought, that mothers are sleepless.
Right.
He said, "I'm actually doing fine. I've put systems in place." And I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like thinking, what systems do you have with a 4 month old? But she seemed like pretty sorted. And of course, I'm not going to go into the schedule part of it. But, there was one thing she said to me. And of course, I remember, I don't know, maybe 10 years later or more. She said that, everybody tells me that your boy is a very happy child. You know, but what they don't understand is that there is work that goes in to make
Right.
sure that, he's not fussy. And when I had my daughter, I realized what she was saying, that, you have to have your feeding times, your sleep schedules. Uh, I mean, at least here in India, I don't think it's the same in US and Canada or maybe in other countries. But in India, there is no concept of a sleep schedule. You are probably an alien talking about a sleep schedule. Yeah? Because parents come home very late. They, Parents walk in the home at about 9 o'clock at night. And see, in my head, it already means a generation of children who are going to be sick,
Yes.
because these children are sleep deprived,
Sleep deprived, lack of focus,
lack of
and
focus, you
different health issues. Yeah.
metabolic issues. You're not, and everybody has something or the other. And then you're saying that my child is not focusing on in school or not enjoying. How will the child enjoy? He's sleepless, you know. So, and that's where my environment piece is so important. I feel like,
And
yeah,
to the environment question,
mm,
now um, kids rely on schedule.
yeah, yeah,
They rely on routines.
yes,
So when it comes to sleep, we already know it's going to be, you know, do you want them to focus?
yeah,
And not enough sleep will cause many different um, problems
yeah, yeah,
cognitively too, right? And
exactly.
here's the thing: when I tell parents that they get a little bit cringe when I say, you know what, sleep times is consistent even on weekends in my family, and
Yes,
yes, you can get them to do that.
yes,
They guess what? Now it changes in the summer.
yeah,
They have a longer time,
yeah,
and here's the interesting part when I talk about connecting with them.
Mm.
There's now another C that says choice.
Mm.
So I give them choice, bedtime choice. But here's the strategy around the bedtime choice. If I know I already calculate that my 11-year-old needs 8.5 hours of sleep, and I know that she needs to go to bed
Yeah.
at 9:30,
Yeah.
I give her a choice. I said, it's your choice. You can go to bed. You can go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, or 9:30. Which one you choose,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Yeah.
it's a three different choice. I'm not saying choose whenever. It's a
Yeah.
three choices. They feel empowered
Yeah. And they'll
when they
choose
feel.
9:30, and that's what you wanted. I do
I
that
already know
so
they're gonna
many
choose
times.
9:30,
Yeah. I do that
right?
so many times, it's not funny. I give her choices between food, which, do you want this or this? And both the choices are okay with me. But
Right,
you choose.
right,
Like,
right,
sometimes I feel like the monster doing it, but, you know, it's, uh,
right.
it's the communication that, of course, you have to be smart enough to, build that system within that.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. The kind of environment is, for example, some parents get caught up into child brushing their teeth before breakfast and stuff like that. That's fine, whatever works for you.
Yeah,
But
whatever works. Yeah.
uh, it's a choice.
It's
If
a
a
choice.
child decides they're not brushing their teeth and they're stubborn about it, then you can start giving them choice before or after.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What? You want to do your homework at the dinner table or upstairs in your room,
yeah.
right? Like choices. If they don't want to take a bath, you want to use the red towel or the blue towel.
Right.
When we give them choices,
They
this is
automatically are more willing to do that thing.
right,
So,
right, because something trigger in
yeah.
their mind and just flip that whatever that was going on, that stubbornness, that stuck
Yeah,
in their own
because
having
I
power.
feel like,
Because
and I mean, I don't know, it's because of how I'm raising her, or it's, how she was born to be with, but she has a mind of her own. And,
of
I,
course,
yeah, and
yeah,
I feel like, oftentimes I will tell people that, I cannot just get her to do anything. But because I have to discuss, I have to, announce, I have to lay out the plan. But, lately I've started realizing I'm not doing anything rocket science. These are all the
thank
strategies
you,
why my child is well behaved. You know,
thank you,
And
thank you.
it's like, it's when I drag my child, no, 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 you have to do this. That's where the ruckus starts. And that's when you start
Right,
blaming the child. Whereas
right.
I'm just using a different strategy. So coming to that, let's in the interest of time, let's talk about some direct 3-4 strategies that you can tell to parents. We've talked about taking control of yourself. you know we've talked about the environment. Now let's talk about daily stuff. You gave the example of the video game piece that you want, the dinner is ready, and so that example, so something like that, a couple of examples where the parents that who would be listening to this conversation can take away and implement in their daily lives, and then go
For
on with it.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And I recall in your opening statement, you talked about kids not listening. Before I share that, here's the question for parents: do you want kids to listen? Do you want them to listen to you, or you want them to do the things they need to do without you getting involved?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we have to understand that. So now here's a really very important tip for parents. So
Mm-hmm.
do not take this lightly. So first we have to think, I talked about how important it is to find out what are their core needs.
Mm-hmm.
One of their core needs, if we know the book called The Five Love Languages,
Mm-hmm.
there's one for kids.
Yes.
One of their core needs is quality time.
Yeah.
So now what you want to do is you want to spend at least minimum, and I know we're busy, 10 minutes per day with your child. Do whatever they want to do. Your time actually. and support them and be emotionally available to them. You're not doing laundry, you're not washing the dishes, you're not
Mm,
cooking, you're not checking your phone, you're not checking email. You're there, mind, body, and soul with them,
mhm.
and thank them for that 10 minutes.
Yes,
If you do that, just that alone daily,
it's going to
shit,
change.
this is magic. 50% of your battle is over.
Wow.
50% of your battle is over. You're 50% there. Because guess what? That is a huge, a primary core need
Need
for
of the
them.
child. Yes, yes.
Right, for them.
Hmm.
So that's important as well. So when I talk about connecting with them emotionally, that is a strategy of connecting with them emotionally.
Very
And then
powerful.
when you now, you as an older mom, and you don't like video game because your son or your daughter into video games, you're like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
if you take your emotions aside and your ego aside and you get involved in your video game, just pretend like you know to play and you get involved. You know much they're thinking in their mind, they're like, wow,
Yeah. She
he's
likes what
really
I like, so there is a
right. They're
good
interested in the
connection.
things. Yes, they're interested in the things I'm interested in.
Yeah.
That shifts their mindset.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to listening to you, you don't have to say it once. You don't have to say it. If they know 9:30 is their bedtime, they're going to say, Mom, it's my bedtime 9:30, and you don't have to remind me. I got this.
Yes.
No joke. There's parents
Yeah,
come
yeah,
up to me
yeah.
and
I
say, Oh
know.
my
Yeah, yeah.
gosh, what happened? My child decided to go to their bed on their own. I don't have to
On
really
her own.
nag
Yeah.
them about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's a huge piece in terms of creating that harmonic environment that we wanted. A child's listening to us and doing the things they need to do without we have to ordering, directing, correcting, and just
Constantly
nagging.
reminding them.
Because after a while, it's a nagging. After a
Yeah.
while, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
nagging.
Yeah. After a
And
while.
here's the one last piece I'm going to give you.
Sure.
Here's the most important part of we ordering, directing, reminding, and nagging. Number one, a child who always forgets has parents who always remembers. Always remember that. But here's the thing about nagging. After a while, they start shutting us off.
Yeah.
And it comes out in a different kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start losing it and we start the cycle over again. So the
Right.
less nagging is the best. We have different days in our home, and Wednesdays or yes days. We don't say no on Wednesdays. But guess what? It's also in the reverse. They
Yeah.
can't say no to us on
On
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays. Yes. Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
different days we have different themes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when
Just
you have these
spice it up
strategies
and
to
make
the
it fun.
environment.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When you have these strategies to create the environment you always wanted, your child's automatically gonna behave the way they're supposed to behave.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Oliver, we've talked about how we need to take control of ourselves. We talked about the 5 C's. We've talked about how connecting with our children before correcting them is important. And we've also talked about the importance of environment. And then you gave us a few tips and I think one of the most powerful tips that you've shared with us today is that spending 10 minutes with your child, uninterrupted, mindful, and on their terms, you know,
Right. Doing what they want to do.
they want you to do. So the moment you do that, like you said, 50% of your battles are gone. And that's like the least you can do. And as a parent, I feel, you know, uh, you're not doing that for your children, actually. Those 10 minutes, you're actually doing it for yourself.
Eh,
Because I
yes.
love those last bedtime conversations with my daughter. I don't think I would like to end my day. I used to read. I'm an avid reader. But
Yeah.
now that reading happens in the morning, because I
Love
want
it.
to have those
Love
conversations with
it.
her.
Yes.
So, closing thoughts, how would you wrap it up? What would that one shift that if parents can get, I know this is a huge topic. It's very difficult to contain everything and all the strategies and tools that you would want to give us in like 1 hour. But thank you for your time there. However, in the interest of time, One closing thought, one magic wand, if you can give us to fix everything, you know.
So I'll leave you with two things.
Mm,
One, parents, and I'm just going to repeat this because it's so important. Parents have to understand and be mindful that every single misbehaviors,
right.
no matter what it is, it could be at home, it could be at school, at church, wherever it is, it comes from an unmet need.
Need.
So I hope most parents can understand or visualize the iceberg analogy. So the iceberg
Mm,
analogy is where you see that little small little piece on top, and
mm,
at the bottom of the surface you have this much. So
right.
what we're seeing up top, that's not what we should be focusing on. This is the reason why we are so frustrated, because
Mm,
we're going to continue to see it all the time. The child
right.
is going to always do the same thing all the time. Why? Because that need hasn't been met yet.
Mm,
So all the fear, the anxiety, the lack of attention, the lack of feeling powerful, lack of feeling significant, lack of feeling, feel like they belong. All these things are underneath. That's missing.
missing. And that's where all that, you know.
That is where the magic is. So parents must take a step back
Mm.
and find out. You don't have to reach out to me personally. I would
Yeah,
love
yeah,
to
yeah.
give
Yeah,
you more, but find out on your own. What are those unmet needs? Let
yeah.
me focus on those unmet needs. Just like you said, when you spend that quality time, it's not only for your child, it's
Mm-hmm.
for you. Because guess what? You'll be of peace of mind in the next hour,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
And
And you are putting in that work
yes,
so you can see the benefit at the end of the day. People say, farmers say you reap what you sow, right? I say you experience who you raised.
yes. And to your point, I see that this. This is something I'm witnessing myself. Uh, that when you spend time with your children, you see that their interest and motivation to do things that you probably sort of ousted from the list has come back, because it is your value system. They are kind of, I mean, married is probably the wrong word, but they understand your value system.
Oh,
They're
for sure,
connected to it, connected
for
to
sure.
that being.
That's right. And
And
in these times, and you said it very well too. Like conversation came up that would have never happened if you
yeah,
didn't put in that time.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of time I said to myself, "Oh my gosh, thank you, Lord.
I know, yeah. I was
I
like,
never understand you, and I will never part of this conversation if I didn't put in the time to spend that time with you."
right,
Oh
because
yeah,
we are so. I mean, for us, it's a list of, you know, um, what do you say? It's a checklist. But for them,
yes,
every little, even Play-Doh is an experience. They,
matter.
and I remember I did a video long back where I said that we don't consider play that important, but children make sense of the world while playing. So playing is that important to them.
100%,
Yes.
100%.
With that, Oliver, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. I would love to have more conversations with you as we, find out more interesting topics to talk about. And once again, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I always tell parents and everyone that I talk to, I'm like a kid in the candy store every time I talk about parenting,
Sure.
relationships,
Yeah.
and how to uplift and
Yes.
educate parents.
Yes.
And for sure, obviously, we'll talk again.
Yes.
You have my schedule because it's
Yes.
something that I want to talk to you more because I've seen your passion. So I want
Sure.
to talk to you more on this as well. So feel free to let's continue this conversation.
And I'm going to steal that phrase, the kid in the candy store. I'm going
Oh
to
yeah.
use that phrase.
No, no. I can see your eyes lit up when we talk about
Yeah.
these things. Oh,
See,
100%.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Oliver. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Take care.
Enjoy
Namaste.
your evening.
Thank you. Bye
Stay
bye.
mindful. All right. Take care.
Yes. Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye.